Our next realist artist is Jean-Francois Millet. Look at this adorable self-portrait of him. I love it. He's so cute. His little hipster beard. Oh. Millet was also a founding member of the Realists and a friend of Courbet, but they came from very different lives. Whereas Courbet came from a well-off middle-class family and he went to Paris to become a lawyer, Millet, he himself is of peasant birth. He grew up on the farm and he always felt uncomfortable living in the city, and he was the first in his family to go to college. So, with this in mind, I want you to understand, or I want you to appreciate his approach to realism, because for me, it seems a much more kinder approach to the realities of the peasant class that he will often depict, like this one here. This is our first work of art by Millet. This is called The Gleaners. Now, what we see here is exactly that. These three women are in the act of gleaning. What's gleaning, Miss Cortez? Well, gleaning is, well, the act of gleaning, to glean. Think about it when you're looking at a magazine, you just like, look through, just look at the pictures, look at some of the captions. You're just gleaning the top, the surface. You're not going deep. You're not reading the whole article. The gleaning comes from this act, the act of gleaning. These women are doing is they are picking up the scraps of wheat left behind after a harvest. So you see in the background that beautiful long golden landscape. These are all wheat fields that are tended to by the peasants. Now, the peasant class in France, you either own the land and then you hire others to work it. So these women here, they get gleaning rights, which means they do not own the land and therefore do not reap the benefits or money from the harvesting of the wheat. They work the fields, they grow the wheat, and then it's sold at market for a price, and they don't get to see any of that. Instead, the landowners get that. They get the right to pick up the scraps for their own benefit for free. Does that sound fair? No! So the people own the land, they hire peasants to work the land, and then the peasants don't even have free access to that food. They have to pay for the food at the market, which then benefits the landowner. There is this accommodation where the landowner says they can glean the leftovers after the harvest. It's a very measly, shallow supply that they get. It's just scraps. And these three women are out there with this literally back-breaking work, picking up these minuscule pieces of grain that they can then use for free before they have to start going to the market to buy the grain that they just grew. That is why this is a realist piece. This is the harsh reality of the French peasant class. And you can see the haystacks in the background here. The women even echo the shape of the haystacks. The French, they tend to pile their hay in this form, this shape here. So Millet is making a very direct parallel in composition between the women and the haystacks of the hay that they work so hard to grow. But there is a sense of softness about this scene, this kind of golden light. We see three women in three attempts or acts or positions that they are each taking. They help us understand maybe a little bit more about them. Like this woman here with the blue bonnet. She's leaning over really far, right? And she's picking with one hand and putting it into her other hand and kind of resting on her back as she goes down. It's a lot of work. The woman in the middle, she's understood to maybe save it in her apron. So she's got her apron and she tucks it into her apron as she picks with one hand. So she's maybe a little bit more used to this act, maybe a little bit older, a little wiser. Also, her back, maybe not as limber as it was before, so she wants to save on that energy, so she tucks it into her apron. And then the final woman here, kind of stiffer. She too has her apron tucked, but her position seems a little bit more stiff, old. What we see is young, middle age, and elderly women out here gleaning. Now remember, Millet, he comes from this peasant class. This is his people, this is his family. So when we see them, we don't see them as pathetic, but we do recognize the extremely hard work they are putting into this. There's also a sense of optimism in the scene for me. Not only is this beautiful golden light that kind of adds a warmthness to this, the figures, they look down in a way to keep them anonymous. Courbet did that with his Stonebreakers. But also, look at here. If we look closer, this bonnet. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, I'm back from being mommy for a little bit. So, let's see. We look at this bonnet here. You see that? So it just peeks out over the horizon. If these women were to stand up, they would break through. Now think about the symbolism of what I just said. If they were to stand up, if they were to rise, they would break through. They would break beyond the boundaries of the land. Back to the realist ideas, these principles are of showing you honest depictions of the real life situations and offering a solution, helping them to rise up. This painting, unlike Courbet's, is fairly small. Here it is. It's at the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. I don't know this guy. Wait, where is he? This guy right here. I don't know him. I wish I had a picture of one of you standing next to this, but I use this for scale. So please go to the Musée d'Orsay after this quarantine is over, after the stay in place is over. Please go and take a picture of yourself next to this so I don't have to have this guy in my lectures. But what you see is that it's not a very big painting. Now, if you remember, the art world was upset with Courbet because he put nobodies in a big painting. Courbet's not doing that, but it has more to do with the resources available to Millet. Courbet, he asks his mom for his rent money, he asks his mom for his money for his paints and his canvas. Courbet has the space in his studio. He has the money to buy that big of a canvas. He has the money to pay for rent in that size of a studio, to pay for all the paint. The logistics of that piece was expensive. Millet doesn't have that kind of money, so his painting is smaller, but it's no less monumental. If we think about the scale of the figures within this painting, they are filling up the scene. Everybody else is small in the background. If they were to stand up, not only would they break through, but they fill up more than 2/3 of this composition. So he's still playing with the ideas of big, important people on a smaller canvas, but those same kind of idealism of the realist movement. He's so sweet. I love Millet.